These squirrels, man, I swear to God, they're gonna give me a heart attack. What's going on, everybody? So today I'm back out at Elachee, but I'm actually going to be walking the lake loop portion. Like I said in my last video, there are a lot of trails at Elachee, but I'm going to walk the lake loop. So the lake loop is about 3 miles. It takes about 2 hours. Well, it takes about 2 hours, but there is a really cool part of Lake Loop, and there's a little pond actually at the end, so stay tuned. It's an incredible view, but let's get this hike going and see where it leads us, huh? So as I said in my previous video, I'm very new to YouTube, so I'm sure I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, but in my last video I talked about the blazes that you can see on the trees, and those blazes for Lake Loop are actually orange. There's one back here. There it is. So the blazes on this trail are orange, and now, as I said in my previous video, what the blazes do, if you guys aren't used to hiking, it's a very good idea to learn how to read the blazes on a tree. And so basically, when you go to other nature centers, or if you go to state parks where they have hiking trails, you'll see a lot of these colored trees. And sometimes people have symbols, different symbols. If you go up to Don Carter, they have the same metal rectangle, but they're all different colors. But basically, it's for those parks that have multiple trails that are around the area, or sometimes they'll intersect with each other. If you can read the blazes, then you can stay on the right trail. So again, I'm walking Lake Loop at Elachee, and it is marked with an orange blaze. So as long as I'm still seeing these things, I know I'm on the right trail, which is always a good thing. Man, look at this guy. So at Elachee, we do have a lot of our trees that have fallen down, but we don't get rid of them. A lot of people who come and hike at Elachee are saying, you know, all of your trees have fallen down, why don't you move them out of the way? And so we do split them up if they fall on a trail, but if they've just fallen on the side of a trail, we don't like grind it up and get rid of it, because they can decompose naturally. They're natural. So it's good for the soil, but it also creates homes for habitats. So in here, I don't think there's anything in there, but it's not impossible. And you definitely won't find me reaching my hand in there either. But they also call as good teaching opportunities when we do programs at Elachee, so we can talk about invertebrates and all the decomposers that are crawling around in there. And eventually this guy will turn back into dirt, so we can have more trees. Alright, so I just passed by another couple who was walking the trails, and I thought about something I haven't had to think about because I've just started filming my hikes. But I'm curious as to how I'm going to react when I'm filming and then I see someone coming my direction. And so do I just own it? Just, you know, keep going, or am I like, oh, I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out. So I'm crossing over this bridge, and this is pretty stagnant water, which means there's not a heavy flow or anything. I don't know if you guys can see, but right there, that little lighter spot, these are little oil sheens. And I did research on this when I was in school, and so we would go out during class and we would take water samples, and I would do cultures and all that and a bacteria test to see what those were, because I thought that, you know, there's oil getting into our rivers and streams, and that's not a good thing. So I did my research and all that, and it turns out that those oil sheens, it's bacteria. It's fecal matter and coliform, which basically gets kind of packed up because there's not a lot of flow happening in this. It's not a very big stream, but you can just see it all just gets built up right there. But it's fecal matter and coliform, which is pretty gross. But good to know. So if you're walking around and you see in a creek or a stream it looks like oil. But when you touch it, it breaks apart. But I wouldn't recommend touching it since it is fecal matter. So just in case you're wondering, it's not oil or anything. It's just from animals and stuff like that. So it's a good tip. Alright, so around, if we have really long trails like this, around all the trails we have these maps you can kind of see. Like this one, it shows you all the leaves from different trees, little animals or little invertebrates you might find around here. I want to show you on this map. So this is the Chicopee Lake that I'm going to show you at the very end, but that's where we parked. Maybe it was up there. Yeah, so we parked at this little gray square here, and we've just made it all the way up here. Now I'm going to hang out a bit over here because there's a suspension bridge down there, and the view's pretty good there too. So I'm promising you 2 pretty good views on our way. But now we're gonna go on the bridge loop and lake loop connector, which is down this way. And again, we've got signs. So you'll see bridge loop is green, lake loop is orange. So going back to our blazes, you'll see a lot of green and orange blazers, indicating that you are on bridge loop and lake loop connector. All right, so let's go get to that bridge. Check out this guy. So he might look pretty familiar. This is a daddy longleg. And their bites are actually venomous. I'll pick them up. As I say that, as I pick them up. So their bites are actually venomous, but their mouth is so small that it doesn't impact us at all. So that's a good thing. But they are pretty cool. I'm gonna move them off the trail here so nobody steps on them. There you go, brother. Alright, I know, I'm sorry. He's all pissed off now. Alright, see you around. Let's keep going. So I've walked this trail before, and these leaves that are very colorful, they used to be super, super red, like this. And I was, oh, it's very wet. Sorry, it scared me. And I was so intrigued by them because look, just compared to being out there in the woods and how red that is. So I have this app and it's called Seek. And so basically it's a identification app for different organisms and such like that. So you can take pictures of anything, of any animal or plant, anything that's living, and it will tell you what it is. And so I took a picture of this, and this is a baby sourwood tree. And so if you guys remember from my last video, I talked about the Cherokee and the sourwood trees, and they called them crooked trees. There's actually one right here. It looks like it's straight up, but it's growing at us. But it goes up here and it curves around like that. So these are baby trees of that curved crooked tree, but they have these insane red leaves. And when I was walking, when it was a little colder, right now it's like in the 60s, but it was probably about a month ago. I was walking and it was kind of cloudy and everything was like brown except for these little trees, and they were bright red. It was so cool. When I was walking by, I was like, oh, I had to stop and look at them for a minute and learn about what they were. So very cool. All right. All right, we officially made it to our suspension bridge. Okay, so we have made it to the suspension bridge. And I came up here and I sat down for a minute and I looked down and I saw some pretty cool stuff, so I'm gonna hop down there and show you. Oh, sorry. All right, so first things first, you guys recognize this. Maybe it's better if I hold it this way. So that is a deer track. And now you can tell that it's walking because its toes are together. However, if you see a deer track where its toes are spread apart, that means that it was running. But there's not only deer tracks here. You see the little feet, little hands. This is probably a possum, I would think. There's some more. And they get even more predominant over here as well. Now I'm also noticing these little sections of holes right here. And I'm not exactly sure what those are. But, oh, you know what they are? They are baby, this one's better, they're baby raccoons. Wow. All right, so there was a mama and some babies. So again here, we have a mama raccoon and some little babies. Well, I'm pretty sure they're raccoons. Raccoons have hands that look like our hands, kind of, or like little dog paws. So we've got a mama and some babies. That's really cool. Wow. Very cool. I'll walk around and see if I can find any other ones. So I kept following our little raccoon tracks. And they go all along the shoreline here of our creek. And it looks like they go over here. I don't want to mess them up too much. But they definitely came down and got a little drink and then came back. You see the mama's paws gets real big right there. And then there are little baby paws. I don't really want to step on them because they're very, very cool, so I'll step around them. But there's these little baby paws. They're so cute. Oh, speaking of little things. Can you see a little green guy? These little green spiders. Maybe he's getting a drink too. Now you might notice there are these lines, and they kind of cross right here and they go over here and all the way over there. So those are snail tracks, and you'll see a lot of them actually in the water. This looks like a little trail, a little snail trail, which is pretty cool. Alright, so I'm gonna head out of our creek now, even though I love it here. Usually when I walk on the lake loop, or if I do both bridge loop and lake loop, I'll definitely sit out here for a little bit and, eat a granola bar or something. Very, very hikery. Hang out by the stream and eat some food, drink some water. That's typically what I do. But I'm gonna go ahead and head out and start heading back towards Chicopee Lake. And then I have the second beautiful view to show you guys. So I'm excited. So let's go on and get out of here. So I want to make a note. At the beginning of this video, I talked about how Lake Loop is 3 miles long and it takes about 2 hours. And so I started at about 2 o'clock, and now it's 3:09, and I've already walked more than half of the trail, and I've been filming. So I guess it kind of depends on the kind of hiker. If you're like me, you like to walk for a little bit and then stop and gaze and kind of enjoy the view and then walk a little bit. Or if you're gonna film, it's gonna take even more time. But I think the time estimate is just for people who are kind of like, not really hiking, but just kind of like strolling, enjoying their time out in the woods. But the squirrels, man, I'm telling you, they get me every time. The squirrels sound so big in the fall time because they're rustling through the leaves, and they always scare me. I always have to, be on my guard. Anyways, I like to share, how long the trails are and how much time it roughly takes for people who want to go out and walk those trails, just so you kind of know. But I'm kind of a fast walker anyway, so. But yeah, it's only been just over an hour, and I've walked more than half the trail. So, alrighty. Okay. So I literally just stopped that clip, and there was I don't know if a squirrel was, okay, the freaking squirrels again, but there was a squirrel walking across a limb way up there by the sun, and like an entire limb fell out of that, crumbled out of that tree. Gosh. These squirrels, man, I swear to God, they're gonna give me a heart attack. I don't see any squirrels up there now. But whew, it really made me stop for a second and look. Oh gosh, alright. Let's keep going. Hopefully I'll make it there. It's just up there. Okay, so I don't know if many of you knew this, but I have a pine cone. And so pine cones come from pine trees. And a lot of times if you see a pine tree, it's probably going to be they have a funny name, it's called a loblolly pine. But pollen also comes from a pine tree. And so fun fact, pine cone is the female, and pollen is the male. So what the pollen does, it gets spread out. I know we've all seen it. Pollen gets spread out amongst the entire world, all over the place, right? But they get wedged down in between the little tines here on a pine cone, and there are seeds down there And squirrels will actually eat those seeds. But what the pollen does is it pollinates, or maybe it germinates. One of the two. It does that so that we can have more pine trees. So if you don't want to tell your kids the birds and the bees, you can tell them about the pollen and the pine cones. There you go, made it easy for you. So you guys probably won't be able to see it, but maybe you can hear it. But there's a tree over here that kind of curves. I feel like if I get any closer, do you hear that? There's a woodpecker over there. He's flying around. If you can hear that little chirp, that's that woodpecker. And I know there are different kinds of woodpeckers. And this guy is all blue, except he has the red strip down his head. I think I kind of lost him in the trees. But that was pretty cool. So yeah, they're mainly blue, but they have the red stripe down their forehead. And you can always tell what a bird eats by looking at its beak. So woodpeckers have a nice pointy beak. It's very sharp, and you'll hear them. They're called woodpeckers because they literally peck in the wood. But they're doing that because they want to get bugs in the wood. And sometimes they want to dig a hole so they can make their homes as well. But other birds like cardinals or blue jays have really short, rounded beaks, and those are good for cracking open seeds to eat. And then there are like hummingbirds who have those really long, skinny beaks, so they can get down into a flower and get the nectar. So it's always interesting if you can get close enough to a bird. I know that's kind of rare, but you can always tell what it eats by looking at its beak. Same thing looking at animals and their teeth. You can see what they eat. If they have nice, sharp teeth, then they eat meat. And if they have flat teeth like our molars, then they are a plant eater. They use their molars, flat teeth, to grind things up. So like horses will have flat teeth, whereas, wolves and canines will have really sharp teeth. All right. I wish I knew what kind of birds those were. There are signs on the trail sometimes that will tell you certain species. If I can get a good look at one of them. Yeah. I do know, though, that there are some ducks around here somewhere. Hopefully they're around, and I hate that I say that and watch them not be around, but hopefully I can find them, because ducks are always cute. A good look at. There's a goose over there. Alright, but we are getting very close to the view. So I'll stop talking now so we can get there. Alright guys, so we've made it all the way around Lake Loop. We made it down to the pond. And so I guess I was kind of hoping it would be a little bit darker when I got here, but we still have a good while until sunset. But this is Chicopee Lake. We have a little pavilion down there that's got some boards on it that tells you about different species you can find out here. There are some geese over there. We have osprey in the trees every now and then. And if you're really lucky, you can see some green or some blue herring or cranes. I don't know if you guys can see the ducks down there. But I'll take a stroll down there and I'll show you around. Alright, so we've made it to the pavilion. I was just walking way up here. Excuse you, sir. Must you make so much noise? I don't think she's interested, mate. Anyways, I made it down here at the pavilion. And so at Elachee we do programs, right? And so we'll do pond life down here, and so kids will come out and we'll dig in the pond and look for different species or just talk about certain habitats and things like that. But I was saying earlier, we have these like boards down here that can tell you different species that are found. And so this one kind of explains an ecosystem and how a food chain works, how things eat other things. And there's one down here as well. That just talks about the living waters. And there's different species that live in this habitat. So different ducks. And I know I promised you guys ducks. There are ducks over there. And then when I was walking along the trail over here, this part of the lake kind of sneaks back in the marsh back there. And there's all kinds of ducks, but I can't get close enough for you to see them. But I can show you this guy. Oh, there they are. These guys over here, making all kinds of noise. What's the matter, man? Alright, well, that's all for me today. I'm gonna go home. But I did notice that I didn't pick up any trash, which is great. There wasn't any trash out there in the trail. But that's it for me. I'm gonna go. I'll catch you the next one. See you later, hikers.